quite well-known book called I Can Teach You to Be Rich. The Western education system should be called I Can Teach You to Be Poor. What's common now is not what we're designed for, and that's why you feel depressed and you feel anxious. To me, the hyper governance, the level of police and control, the quality of the schooling, none of it makes sense to me. I wasn't on board with where the country's headed, and then 2020 proved even more that I definitely don't want to be in a place like that. Everything is possible. Like, we can create anything. So why are we only thinking about like this tiny little narrow band of what's possible, of like, well, maybe if I work really hard, I can own a house in a suburb and take a holiday once a year.
I was disillusioned by the education system as a boy, and I felt like my greatest strengths were treated as behavioral issues. And at about the age of 14, I found myself inside of 3 different schools within 9 months. I ended up dropping out of high school at around 16.
Unless we radically reform the school system of the United States, radically reform, unless we somehow prepare them for citizenship, because they're not prepared now, the future of this country, both politically and economically, is seriously in question.
We now live in a new world and require a new paradigm of education. So I've taken my education into my own hands, and I'm traveling the world seeking out my own mentors, teachers, and experiences to build my own self-directed, self-determined education. Follow me as I seek an education in the world.
What are you doing here in Montenegro? Building a dream. Right here, where we are right now, is a place to produce food, to have amazing conversations, to train, a place to develop myself, invite friends, train hard, eat well.
And yeah, where exactly in Montenegro are we, or where's, like, geographically, where are we?
Yeah, so yeah, for those who don't know Montenegro, it's between Albania and Croatia, just near Greece, in the Balkan region. It's a young country in terms of the name. Where we are right now is between the capital city, Podgorica, and the biggest city on the coast, which is Bar. We're just next to the lake, Lake Skadar. Yeah, that's going to be the gym there. So 12 by 6. The roof still has to go on, but we've already had some really good training sessions in there and some soccer games. And yeah, to me, if you got a great place to train, you got food on site, then all you just need is the good people to come and experience it with you. So
Yeah.
the foundations are coming along. We've been working on it since May. We're in November now, so
Yeah.
it's progressing quite quickly.
Come on.
The goal is that we have events at these places. People come from around the world, like what you're getting here at the moment. We've got the other guys here from England, South Africa, New Zealand. Come together, share ideas, train well together, talk about business. To me, these are the best experiences that I've had, is with people like this, having these types of experiences. So the digital nomad thing, as you've experienced and other guys, like, there's a lot of drawbacks to it. If you can't get good food, if you're not around the people that you want to be around,
Yeah.
you can waste a lot of time, you can waste a lot of money. So how can we set up like real custom locations around the world so you can have that experience of moving around the world, but also be around people who are going to lift you up, encourage you to train harder, box and spar with you,
Yeah.
that side of things, eat well as grow business, make money,
Yeah.
have an impact with projects that we care about.
Yeah, come on. I remember when I first came across you on Instagram, and you were talking about that sort of vision for a place where people can become more athletic, richer, and smarter. And I'd just done you know, 6 or like 5, 6 months in the Arctic, doing like co-working stuff, and which I really enjoyed. But I was doing the digital nomad thing, and I was in environments that weren't necessarily conducive to those like 3 things.
Yeah, it tends to be that one thing falls down. Like you get around cool people, but they're not really into business, or there's no gym around, or your environment's encouraging you to eat shitty food or drink more than you want to drink, or those sorts of things. Like, we're all dramatically impacted by the environment that we're in.
Yeah.
So if we can shape the environment, we shape the person, we shape the life.
Yeah, like Montenegro and countries similar is that, yeah, if you want to do things in a country like Australia or America or Canada, the UK, or these wealthier nations, it's so hard. There's always so much red tape and laws. Like, even if you want to build like a shed on your own land in Australia,
hyper regulation, hyper governance. Like, if you want it, cool, live in one of those places. But if you don't want it, you can go to somewhere else. And that's like the nomad capitalist slogan: go where you're treated best. I heard that in 2019. I was like, well, yeah, this is not what I want. I mean, this is not the best. And paying a lot of money to live in this country.
40%.
I don't like the school system. Some people say it's 70%, you know, when you add in the GST, when you add in all the fees and the rates and the fines and everything. But it's, you know, very high taxation. What are you getting for that service? You know, what service are they delivering for that? To me, the hyper governance, the level of police and control, the quality of the schooling, you know, none of it makes sense to me. I wasn't on board with where the country's headed, and then you know, 2020 proved even more that I definitely don't want to be in a place like that. As much, you know, obviously there are a lot of great people there, and they're great people in all areas. Like, even in government, there are great people doing great things. But each of us have to make that decision of, well, what do I believe in, and what am I going to support with my dollars, with where I live. And one of the strongest ways that you can vote is vote with where you live. We should all just consider it and experiment, test things, go live somewhere for a few months, think about what it would take to have a few $1,000s a month online income, so that you do have that option. If things do get worse, like maybe everything that's happened, maybe the worst of it's all over and everything's going to be great going forward, but just in case there's that 1% chance that wasn't the worst of it, that was actually just a tiny bit of what is planned, then, you know, we need to, it's worth thinking ahead now. Like, what's the disadvantage to building some online income? What's the disadvantage to having connections around the world of other places that you can go? To me, there's no disadvantage. Hoping that everything's going to be okay, like, hope is not a good currency. It's not a good place to live from.
Yeah. Well, what's this place?
Yeah, this was some sort of important meeting place for the village, for the families nearby. And so each family has its own circle where they would meet to discuss any challenges or sort of think about the way that their family group was progressing. So this is the location for the family that we're working together with here in building the village in Montenegro. So you'll see the building here. I'm not exactly sure what they used it for. This beautiful like stone arch, and then the meeting circle outside.
And so during your time when you were, how old were you when you went to Latin America and you kind of did your travels through that?
23 when I first arrived in Latin America. Yeah, I was really trying to find myself. It was the hero's journey of learning another language, learning if I could exist on my own, like not with support from my family, different culture. Can I survive? Meet people, make the trip happen, stay safe. Like, it was really an important time in my life for like becoming more independent, believing in myself more, being self-sufficient. So yeah, I've loved it. I loved the freedom that came with it, and I didn't want to go back to Australia after that 9 months away. Yeah, backpack was all I had. Hitchhiking, sleeping on floors, meeting different people. It was amazing experience, and something that I would recommend everyone does. Like, you know, go travel, but yeah, doing it in that way of sort of wanting to actually meet people, learn a language, learn the culture. that was really valuable. And so because it was such a big change, I kept going back there, and I thought I wanted to live there. So I went back there and taught English and got involved in other agricultural projects.
And what did that like do to you, that the leaving home 23, going and traveling all by yourself? What did that do inside of you? Like what was your education like up until that point, and what did you learn?
I felt very sheltered. As much as like I had a great upbringing, I had great parents, and I had the opportunity to live in England and go to good schools and play sports. But when I went to London and I met people from around the world, I was like, man, I've been such a sheltered life. Like I haven't experienced anything. I don't know how the world works. I don't know how politics work. I don't know what history is. I don't know how the economy works. And so I wanted to understand all those things. I had a lot of questions, and I started to formulate answers during that time and think about what role I really want to play in this life. Like you have a lot of time to think about it. I didn't have a phone then. I wasn't on Facebook. It was literally like think about what I want to do with my life, where I'm going, meeting people on the ground, and sort of getting that experience. So I did leave with a lot more self-reliance. I also thought about it at that time of like, I don't want to go into the rat race. I don't want to be in society travel. I never want to work 9 to 5. I'd already thought about that during schooling time. What was I actually going to do to get that, to not have that life? Well, I thought about just being super poor in Latin America and just teaching English or something, but you know, living on the land. And it just seemed as though, why does it have to be this hard, this complicated? Like surely we can just have some animals, have some land, and focus our attention on learning, training, eating good food. That's all I really wanted to do. But the economic question of how can I survive, how can I bring up a family, I couldn't really answer it, but it was in my head at that time of like, okay, I need to get some land. How am I going to get some land? And at that time I had no business skills, I had no money, and I couldn't solve it. I didn't know how I was going to solve it, but it was definitely rattling around in my brain of like, that's sort of what I need to do.
So your path to like life on your own terms and like living a pretty uncommon life, moving to a farm in Montenegro for a period of time, and then who knows, maybe Vanuatu, who knows where's next. Obviously you had to create like an online income. And what was your path? Because you had this strength in as you're saying, in strength, like strength training, and what was, how were you able to leverage that and use that, or what was your journey like?
So the simplest path for most people is to use the skills that they already have, but then look at, okay, what are the opportunities with this? Tune into opportunity self. What are the opportunities of how I can use what I already know how to do in business? And so that's what I did. I was working in strength and conditioning. I was the strength, nutrition, speed coach for the Sydney Roosters. They just won the premiership, and I had good results with the Roosters, and that led to people wanting to know that sort of stuff. Like, well, what are you doing if they're the best and players are saying good things about you? Like, what are you doing? So the opportunity was to bring that knowledge to coaches or to athletes, and that's what I did. I transitioned into primarily an online business, but it had face-to-face events in 2014. And I was quite early to the online fitness coaching sort of space, and it worked better than I probably than it should. Like I didn't really have much business background. I didn't have much support. I just had a lot of conviction that these methods are good. These methods are better than what you're getting taught at university or when you do your Cert 3 and 4. Like the conventional way of training people isn't that good. I've got something better. I'll teach it to you. You give me some money. We'll train together. We'll have amazing experiences. And, you'll go back and be one of the best coaches in your town, city, gym, wherever you're going to do your coaching.
We've had some interesting conversations about like the common man and the ideas around that. Like, what do you think about the common man, the common direction that you seem to be heading?
The common man is the guy who goes to school and then he gets a job and then he eats what's in the supermarket and what's advertised to him, and he probably doesn't train. Like the common man is Homer Simpson. That's a man who doesn't have much testosterone. He doesn't have, he doesn't train. That's the common man these days. And the common man is highly disempowered, I have respect for the common man, the person who is able to work a kind of a dead-end job to support a family that is maybe not the most dynamic and inspired home life. I can't imagine doing that, and I know that a lot of men, they can't handle that common life. They do not want to be the common man.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it's fine for those who do.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then what do? Like, you get fired up listening to Rogan and Goggins and Jocko, and you see these men who are like living to a high standard. What I've seen is like, there's just, what's the next step? You know, so if you know that you don't want to be a common man, like, what do? For those who know that they can't be on that common path, sort of living the 9 to 5 and just living for the weekend and drinking beers and eating pizza, there needs to be an environment that encourages more from you and that demands more from you. And I know for myself, like, when that environment's been strong, like when I'm hanging around with people like you, like yesterday you punching me in the face, that's challenging me to be better. We need that. Like, you can't do it on your own. And men are, that's part of the myth that the common man believes in, is like, oh, I'm going to be okay on my own. I'm going to get there. If I work hard as the common man, everything's going to be okay. Yeah. That's a belief of the common man. Yeah. And I think the common man is already massively screwed, and it's getting much worse. And so it's not a good time to choose that path. And I don't think most people actually choose it. I don't think men are meant to live that common. What's common now is not what, you know, we're designed for, and that's why you feel depressed and you feel anxious and whatever if you live like that. I personally, you know, I spiraled down a bunch of times in my life when I didn't have people around me who were going hard, who were going to punch me in the face, who were going to like ask me how much money I'm making or ask me what I'm doing to develop my business. Like, I know it for myself, and so I know it for others, that it feels shit when you don't know where you're going and you don't know how you're going to get to somewhere better.
Yeah. And it's funny, the people who have like the biggest stories around how they don't need money or they're happy at that level are typically the ones whose lives are most run by the amount of money that they make, and their whole life is run by finances. Yeah. Rather than the person who sets themselves free, so they're free from the constraints of finances.
Yeah. Even just asking that question, well, what would you do if you had $10 million? If you like. People can't answer that question. You're just thinking small. Like, everything is possible. Everything that's done on earth, it's not because of money, it's because people have decided this is going to happen. And then money is like a leverage tool that allows things to happen and encourages people to take different actions. But everything is possible. Like, we can create anything. So why are we only thinking about like this tiny little narrow band of what's possible, of like, well, maybe if I work really hard, I can own a house in a suburb and take a holiday once a year. That's not what's possible. Like, everything is possible.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the standard Western education?
Yeah. So there's a book, quite well-known book, called I Can Teach You to Be Rich.
Yeah.
The Western education system should be called I Can Teach You to Be Poor. Like, that's literally, you get used to 9 to 5, you get used to not being overly creative, don't draw outside the lines. Yeah. If you think inside this little band and this little box and you tell me exactly what I want to hear, then I'll give you a gold star. And at the end of those 15, 20 years of getting gold stars, then you'll be qualified for one specific thing that has a limited future, a limited outcome. How much innovation have we seen in technology, in the phone, in the internet, in cryptocurrency, and all these things over the last 50 years, or even over my lifetime, like last 40 years? How much has that stuff changed? Yeah. Like night and day. How much has the schooling system changed? Like, they got iPads now instead of the green screen computers that they had when I went. But the fundamentals of how it's all going, like how it's how we've been taught, is, well, the objectives haven't changed of the system. Therefore, why would the education system change? If the objectives of the system haven't changed, then. But the world is changing so much. The old economy, the need for the common man and the common role is decreasing. And so, it doesn't look like it ends well for the person who relies on that traditional education and relies on that right way thinking in the box.
Yeah, you think about like the old economy and the old education, and mention like a new economy. It's going to require a new education. What is this? What is the new economy?
Yeah, I mean, the knowledge economy is the place that you want to be. If you're not in the knowledge economy, then you kind of not in the future. If you want to participate in the future, then you have to be in the knowledge economy. And of course, we still need to continue to produce food and build things. But the knowledge economy is exponentially scalable. It can grow forever. There was all this stuff of capitalism's coming to an end because we're getting to the end of resources and there's not going to be anything left to buy. Now you see in the knowledge economy, like there's infinite number of things to buy, and it can go forever with creating, knowledge sharing. So yeah, being involved in the knowledge economy requires thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to solve? What is one of the biggest challenges that I've solved in my lifetime? Or what challenge do I see out there that isn't being met very well? And you design a solution, for that. And if you can help one person with one solution, then the way the world is now, there's like that one person, there's a bunch of them. There's 1,000 of them, there's 5,000 of them. You need like 100 people who you've really helped, and you can pretty much live life on your own terms.
And how do you think we educate people for this new economy?
It's choose a skill.
Choose a skill.
And then once you've made that decision, then yeah, like education's super important, but it's pretty easy to get. Like there's amazing books that are written. There's so much stuff on YouTube. There's so many people who you can see exactly how they're doing the process that you want to be good at. The thing is, like, are you worthy of it? Can you do it? The confidence piece is massive as well. That's why I love starting with the training, because the training can boost your confidence and boost your testosterone, give you energy of like, yeah, I'm a beast. I'm going to get after things. If you have that mentality, then you can bring that, leverage that and bring that into business. Like, there's no way I'm stopping. Like, if someone who's, you got that background with boxing with your father, you bring that mentality to your business, whether you realize it or not, like it's part of you. There, and so you can grow that in yourself through your training. Like, get your push-ups done each day, get your squats, develop your body, and you'll feel different. You are different when you come to business, when you come to an opportunity. You come with presence, you come with... It's easier to trust someone who trains every day. It's much easier to trust someone because, well, they've obviously got that amount of discipline. They're obviously eating certain foods. They're getting to bed. They've been able to build this amount of strength. Well, you can't build that amount of strength without showing up consistently. And therefore, it tells you, it's a great business card and a great way to express your character.
Yeah, awesome. Should we have a train then?
Train then.
Let's do it.
Yeah, when you know you can back yourself to work hard with training, it's going to feel difficult at times. You're going to doubt yourself. When you can see that consistent effort, bring consistent improvement, and you know you can show up, if you can do that in one area of your life, easier to believe that you're going to be able to do it in another area. Yeah. It's not a given, but you have that experience of being consistent with something. You have that experience of cumulative gains.
One thing that I realized, I think, with the financial freedom, the geographical freedom stuff, where health maybe wasn't as high, it wasn't such a high value, because I realized, I didn't want to be in a dope villa in Greece in the middle of summer and be fat, or have a shit rig.
Yeah, you're winning in business, winning in life in so many ways. Take your shirt off and you feel like shit. Well, like, who you are is the most important thing. Like, who you are spiritually, mentally, but then physically, they're all connected. You can't be at your best spiritually if you're at your worst physically. If you feel really sick, if you feel really tired, then obviously, but it's also like strength and capacity. Do I have the ability to run up this hill if I wanted to? Yeah. Your highest quality of life is not going to be in a low quality body.
Yeah, I like how you say that your body's physical proof of who you are. Do you want to talk about that idea?
Like, you can't, no one can do your push-ups for you. And even further than that, if you take it into some mobility, into some skill, into boxing, something, then it shows, well, yeah, you obviously do the work. You can't fake that. If someone can do a back somersault, then they've obviously done the work to be able to do a back somersault. In a world where you can rent a Lamborghini and you can pretend that that's a snapshot of your Stripe account, you can't fake that stuff. Now, there's steroids for like just looking good. And so that doesn't hold as much credibility with me or with most people as if you actually can do something cool. Like if you can juggle a hacky sack or do a handstand or, do the splits or whatever it's going to be, then there's no question that you've done the work. And so it's a sign of your character. It's a sign of your consistency, your determination. They're the kind of people that I want to be around, people who have that.
What sort of workout are we going to do today?
I don't know. The horse is, I think, eating one of the juggling balls though.
Oh shit.